Hi, it's James with the 1.2 Renault Clio. There are probably plenty of videos about this all over the internet, but I thought I may as well film it, seeing as YouTube and all that. So today, going to be replacing my fuel pump because I have a suspicion, although it's not really confirmed, that I've got a misfire at high RPM, high load. And this is a fuel pump designed for a standard 1.2 naturally aspirated engine, so probably isn't adequate. So it's had new injectors, new plugs, new coil, yeah, everything except for this. So hopefully this will solve it. So basically, standard thing, hatchback, under the rear seat, usually there is a hatch, which in my case is broken and won't stay in place because this is a shed of a car. But there will be your fuel tank and lock ring, which somebody has actually had off before and snapped all the lugs off, but I've loosened it already, so yeah. So this comes off, unscrews like that. You just use a hammer and a screwdriver on these lugs, or the few that are left. Fuel line off. Yep, I've recently run the car, so fuel everywhere, doesn't matter. And there is the fuel pump connector, which pulls off like that. So now, it should just lift out. You've got to be a bit careful with the fuel level sender, which in my case is broken anyway, I suspect, because somebody's been in there before. It varies quite a lot when you accelerate and brake. But I don't want to damage it any further, so you've just got to delicately wiggle it out. There we go. So I'll take this apart and we'll see what modifications we've got to do to get it to fit. Right, so I've got it in the barn. I'm pretty sure I've got all the tools I need, so I'm just going to start taking it to pieces, basically. So the fuel pump is actually this bit in the centre with these two leads going to it. My new pump is probably massive overkill for this car. Was it Chemso? Supposedly adequate for 700 to 800 horsepower, it should work. I'll take the other one out and find out. Ew, rubbish in there. Oh, well, more fuel. Does it have to come out the bottom? I don't want it to come out the bottom. I want it to come out the top. Get them side by side and compare. You know what? It should be near enough a straight swap. So this black hose it's pushed onto barbs, basically, so I don't think it's ever going to pull off of its own accord. I'll before I go cutting it, I might just make sure that the one supplied is the same size. It's significantly longer. I think I can make that big hose work. Wow, even more. So what I'm probably going to go and do now is go inside and take the spade connectors off of the inside of this and solder them directly to this. So I've got the actual connector. It's just a plug and play lead then. Yeah, but I won't bother recording that. So yeah, I've modified the lead so it should just plug in at both ends, which is the way it should be. So I'll get on with putting it together. Slightly odd that this one isn't barbed, but then again, it does feel so tight that it couldn't ever come off. Well, that's not coming off by accident. So one problem I've got is these lugs aren't there on the original fuel pump, so I'm just going to have to go and file them down. So I've filed off those lugs that were in the way on the bottom, so yeah, it should fit very nicely now. Okay, well, it's sitting flush, so I'd say that's worked. I'm going to reuse the old strainer, seeing as it fits. I mean, they must have designed it like this for a reason, so I think. So the difficulty I'm having now is this hose is significantly longer than this hose that I had to cut off, and it needs to go on this spigot here. So I'm going to have to try and find some way of routing it that takes up the slack, that doesn't get in the way of anything else. So I'll stop recording while I do that, to be honest. Right, so I have managed to, well, getting the hose on the spigot was actually the hardest bit of the whole thing. Don't think I've damaged it, but I might have. But it's, yeah, you can see how much of a convoluted route I've had to take just to cram it in properly. But there you go. Yeah, it's everywhere, but it should work. Anyway, I'll put it in now. Right, well, I've managed to get it all back in. I haven't done this collar up very tight because well, number one, I don't know it's going to work for certain. It should. And number two, because it's really hard to thread and I want to get it right, and it's definitely not right at the moment. Anyway, it's all plumbed in. I'll just try and start the car, see what happens. Yeah. What was that? I would call that a win. I mean, it seems like it's working. I will let you know. So it's all back together, and well, I had to take it all apart again because the fuel gauge wasn't working at all. I just bent the contacts in on the potentiometer in the tank, and it seems to have worked. And just go for a quick drive, see how it, well, if it misfires, I bet it does. Well, what I can conclude from that run, I'm not sure if it solved the misfire. It didn't do it, but it's running richer now. because there's more fuel being supplied. I thought the in-tank regulator would be enough, but looks like I need to alter the tune to suit it now, which is a bit annoying, but there we go. That's what you get for modifying things.